It's time for Chained No More, a place to find people who genuinely care about you and what you are living. Everybody has stuff, so let's talk about it. Welcome to a place you will find acceptance, understanding, and encouragement, as well as effective tools and resources to help you find healing from your stuff and help you move forward. Your host, Robin Beesman, is the author of Chained No More, a journey of healing for the adult children of divorce and childhood brokenness. Robin has had many years of experience of ministry to single-parent families, as well as mentoring and teaching women and kids. Robin and her expert guests will not beat you over the head with a Bible, but will combine faith and practical tools to help you with topics such as issues of divorce, relationships, single parenting, step families, abuse, and other personal struggles. Robin is ready to help you believe in who God says you are and not what anyone or anything has ever told you. So sit back, relax, and be encouraged and enlightened today on Chained No More. Now, here is your host, Robin Beesman.
Hi, listeners, and welcome to Chained No More Talk Radio. I'm Robin, your host. You know, there's some people you meet for the first time and you realize they're someone you could be friends with instantly. My guest today is someone like that. From the moment I saw some crazy pictures of her having fun, to what I read on her Facebook post, to what I heard others say about this amazing woman, I could see this is going to be a good thing. I've never met my guest in person, actually, but we have spoken on the phone and emailed, and it seemed like we were instant girlfriends. Love it, love it, love it. What I also saw in her was her passion for ministry, which I have as well. Our ministry venues may be different, but the purpose is still the same. Both my guest and I are people-oriented, but we also need our times of being alone. We love to laugh, hang out with friends, meet new people, have meaningful discussions with others, and share our love for the Lord. There are also times we need to be off camera, so to speak, spend time with the Lord and just let down a little. All of us have been hurt by friends, some deeply and some just annoyances. Many of us may have been damaged by those experiences so much that we have just decided to step back and isolate so we don't go through that pain again. In this world of technical devices, more people spend time having a relationship with their screens than spending time face-to-face with another human being, developing a strong relationship. We seem to be losing the ability to nurture relationships, have heart-to-heart talks, and connect on a heart level because it just seems easier and less risky to push a button and stare at a screen. For me, I have different types of friendships, actually, which helps me to know the boundaries I need to set, what to expect in each relationship, and what I can give to them. How do we build healthy, lifelong friendships? What are the different types of friendships? What are healthy boundaries versus barriers when it comes to friendships? These are all questions our guests and I will discuss on today's program. I would like to introduce my returning guest today, and her name is Kris Swiatocho. She is an author, speaker, trainer, and mentor, and heads up the Singles Network, but speaks to many types of groups around the country. You will love her. I would like to introduce my friend, a ministry colleague now, and a woman I really, really respect, Kris Swiatocho. Hello, Kris. Let's talk about all of this.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad to be back on the show. I just love your show.
Yeah, thank you. I love having you on here. It's easy. I can tell. So we have a lot in common, so it's really cool. And I love this topic that we're talking about because I know a lot of people, especially in Chained No More classes, I know that it's very, very difficult, especially if you've had broken relationships or broken trusts or all that. And it's just easier. It is, like I said in the intro, it's so easy just to sit back and just isolate, so you don't get hurt again, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
see it all the time, specifically with single adults. I think I see it more so than with married adults because there's no accountability, and you can easily just stay at home, and your friend is Facebook, and you can get in trouble that way. So,
truly. Why don't you briefly remind us, before we get started here, remind us of how you grew up and how God led you to the ministry you do today, Kris.
Sure. Well, I grew up in a home that had a mother and a father, but my father was not around hardly ever at all, and so They would go for a year to 2 years. We would not see him. And as a result, most of my memories growing up are with just my mother. So I tell people that we were an unusual single-parent family and that we had this father and we had some support, but I was truly raised by my mom. In my teen years, my parents' marriage did end, and we weren't really that unhappy about it because the fact that we really never had a father. And my mom remarried, and so for a while there, we were legally single-parent family, and then she met a wonderful man who literally rescued us, and he not only brought Christ into our home, but he was ready to take on a lady and her 4 kids, and very rare that you meet men and women that are willing to do that. And so for the rest of my teen years, I was real fortunate that I had the family that I had wanted. And even though you get kind of still stuck in your ways, and of course I was 15 when they married, and so I still had a hard road ahead of me. But because of that and those influences, those different types of blended families, when I got in my 20s, I was a part of a really large singles group, young adult group, and I began to see a lot of the same types of things that I had experienced in my life as a young person, but I began to see people that were getting married and some of the struggles they were having, some of the singles who wanted to be married. And so I became a part of a big singles group and really loved that there was a place for us to have community and to build those safe friendships. And then so those friendships would lead to romance, and some would get married, but they would do it the right way. And I just said, I got to keep doing this. This is amazing. And to be a part of that, and, all these years later to see and hear and see some of the kids that are now from those marriages, and see some of those singles that didn't get married but found where God was calling them and having a really amazing life as a single.
Wow, it's a great story of how God uses your own stuff for good, isn't it? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's
awesome. What the enemy wants to take for pain, I tell people there's always purpose in the pain, and in the time it doesn't feel that way, but you can't, over time, as you look back and you go, now I see how that's helped me become who I am today.
I think you experience, Kris, what I experience too, is that every day you wake up with purpose. And isn't that a blessing? You're not just wasting your time on the planet. You got a strong purpose, and that's what I love about you too. You're always on the go. You're always doing these things, but there is that time when you get to just spend time with the Lord and spend time away. And I love long drives. I think you drive to some of your stuff, and so I love those long drives. For me, I turn black gospel music on as loud as I can get it and open my windows and just praise God down the freeway. I love it.
Well, something that some of your listeners may not know about me or whatever, but the one area of my life that I have a lot of stress is traffic and driving in traffic, and so I blow bubbles out of my car windows at intersections and to relieve stress. But it is the most coolest thing is to watch people look at you like you're crazy, and they see bubbles, and then they get excited because everybody loves a bubble. And it is just my way of trying to introduce laughter in the middle of a stressful day. And it really makes a difference. People do start to smile when they see me blow bubbles out of my windows.
You're a crazy woman, and I love it. I love it. When we go on our boat, I have a thing of bubbles. Isn't that weird? And I go on our boat, and I sit in the front, and I hold that little wand out as we go really slow down in the lake, and then bubbles are blowing everywhere. That's so specifically weird, Kris, that we both have things with bubbles. Wow. Okay, we're talking about friendship today, and why do you think friendship is such an important part of all relationships? Why do you think that is?
Well, besides, and we'll talk more about this later about, God gives us that example and that model of why friendship is so important. But to me, it's the groundwork. Relationships in general are very difficult. But when you don't begin a relationship where it's a friendship and where you can build trust and you can build community and you can learn about another person. We were not designed to be by ourselves on this earth. We were designed to have relationships with other people. And so even before you could ever think about a romantic, but even for those listeners that are married, we need friends. We need people there who can support us and encourage us and hold us accountable, people that will speak truth into our lives. And sometimes, once you get into a romantic relationship, that's a different type of friendship. And so, but how do you have that if you don't have the first one, the first kind? And if you haven't learned how to be a friend, even when you're a little kid, if you don't learn to share if you don't learn to listen, if you don't learn to give, how do you grow up? You grow up to become a very selfish, self-focused adult.
Well, you're so
friendship is the basis. It's just even when you're, when you're little kids, you're a mom, right, Robin? There's when I speak to moms and I speak to, I'm an aunt, and I that's as close as I'm going to probably get to being a mom. But I remember my little nieces and nephews when they were tiny little things of 1 and 2, and teaching them basic principles of sharing and listening and taking turns. I just see it such important. When I meet adults today and their friendship skills are not well, I wonder how they were raised. Who taught them how to be a friend?
Yeah, I do too. I know since I deal with the people that I do and minister to them, you can see where the pain comes out and where their upbringing comes out and how their relationships as they go into adulthood, how it's paying quite the price. And because they never learned that. And then the big deal about trust, that's a gigantic thing. Because once that is shattered by a parent or by somebody, other people in their lives, they carry that forward and they make the person in front of them pay for the people in behind them. And that really a lot of damage. So I'm really excited about what you're going to say about this, because what I don't see either, Kris, it's very difficult for some people to have friendship within their marriage, because they didn't see it and they don't know how to get it. So I think you're going to give us a lot of tools. We have less than a minute. But for friendships, for me, I am such a people person, but I have learned to use good discernment now. I've learned the boundaries without setting up barriers, but to have boundaries. And they're not bad. They're healthy boundaries. And so I'm sure you're going to be talking about some of that too. So who is your best friend?
Oh, my goodness, I have several. Several. But you know what? I'm into the Peter, James, John thing where there's 2 or 3 people that I know that would be on a shadow of a doubt if I needed them instantly. Not, hey, I'll get back with you later.
Right.
I have some of those in my life, and those are critical to have those different levels. Those you can call an emergency, and those you can call for something later, and those you can call for something much later. But each one of them has contributed into my life in various ways. That's awesome. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yes, we're going to talk to Kris on the other side of the break.
Host and author Robin Beesman returns after this short break for more conversation on Chained No More.
Do holidays and celebrations get you down and leave you feeling frazzled? Then join Sandy Fowler and her guests on Heart-Filled Holidays every Monday at noon, 11 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Sandy will help you discover the secrets to having the celebrations you've always dreamed of while adding fun and meaning to your life. From Valentine's Day to Christmas to special family events, Sandy Fowler will show you how to put the fun and meaning back into those special days by taking a look at what we can do to turn the upcoming holidays into cherished memories and show us how to allow it to intertwine with everyday life. For more on the show, Sandy, and to receive Sandy's Holiday Happiness booklet, go to heartfilledholidays.com. Then get set to discover the secrets to creating happy holidays and happy everydays by joining Sandy Fowler and her guests on Heart-Filled Holidays every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time on TogiNet.com.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors. All quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
Welcome back to a place you'll find acceptance, understanding, and encouragement, as well as effective tools and resources to help you find healing from the stuff that gets in the way of your making emotional progress. Now with more of today's Chained No More, Robin Beesman.
Hi, listeners. We're talking with Kris Swiatocho. We're talking about building healthy friendships. And what the next question is, I think is important for people to learn. Not all friendships are the same. So what are the different types of friendships, and how can each of them be a benefit, Kris?
Well, there's probably many different types, and not enough time on your show to go through all of them. But I'd put them in three categories that I think are really important. There are those friends in your life that are there to mentor you, those that pour into you, those that you don't have to necessarily give back to them. They are there really to just mentor you, grow you. It could be a counselor, a teacher. It could actually be someone who has actually mentoring you. And it's a season where they may be there for a short time to help you with one area, or they're a long time. Some people, we also call it discipleship as far as Christianity. So those are those types, and very few of us have those, and we need those. And we need to be praying and asking God to put those people in our life, because we need that type of accountability and growth. They also are putting your life to where you can't get away with anything. You know, with your friends, you could talk yourself out of some stuff, but those types of friends are really there to grow you, and you have to, should be listening to their advice. The other kind are those that you pour into. Those are people God's put into your life. Maybe it's a coworker who really needs some help in the job, and they really could use somebody to come alongside. Maybe it's, you've noticed a young adult that you really is really beginning to start life at the beginning, and they really would love your help and advice. Or maybe someone wants to start a business, and you have a business, and you're like, you know what, I could teach them something. So those are the people that God has put in your life for you to mentor and lead and develop and help. Sometimes it's someone that you're discipling as well, that you've come alongside and help them walk into Christianity. Or it could just be you have a neighbor that would really like to learn how to garden. And you're like, you know what, I can be their friend, and I can help them because I know a lot about gardening. And then there's those, to me, that are balanced. Those are those friends that, that there's a season where they're pouring into you and spending time with you, and then you're pouring into them. They may have a season, maybe a year, where they're struggling with a cancer diagnosis, and they really just need you to pour into them. Or it's your season, and you are going through a really tough time in your marriage, and they're there just for you. But the ball goes back and forth. That's the key to a really healthy friendship. If you find the ball's not going back and forth and it's staying too long on one side, that's going to be indication that this is not a healthy friendship.
Yeah. I have a couple ideas, too, about this, Kris. One of them is what I call a project friend. And the reason why I call that friendship that is because they never ask me about me. It's all and it's all about them, their problems, and somebody that I do mentor or care about or whatever. But they don't ask about me at all. So I don't expect that. I don't expect reciprocation. I don't. God put them in front of me for a reason. And so those are project friends and ministry friends because maybe they've been in the class with me, or maybe I did go through and led a Bible study they were in or whatever. But it's not a super close relationship. But it still can be a healthy one if we know the boundaries of that, or what to expect. I think what sometimes we just expect so dang much from friendships, and it's too much. We've made it into something that really isn't on the other side of that friendship. Do you agree with that?
Well, I with Facebook and other types of social media, the word friendship has really gotten diluted. What does that look like? What does it mean?
Yes.
You have all these hundreds or thousands of friends on these social media. Does that mean they're really your friends? And so for some people, they're like, well, I'm not on social media because those aren't really my friends. And then I'm thankful for social media because, one, it's helped me get to people, but it's also lets me check in on some people that I care about and that I would be concerned about them. But I realistically cannot be the friend that they would want me to be, or vice versa. And so because there's a little bit of pressure, I think, on what does that look like. Now, I know how I know I haven't talked to my friends is when they text me and they go, excuse me, do you remember me? And I laugh.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
they'll post something on Facebook and say, hey, let's catch up, let's have lunch. And so, I believe that if a person is not pouring into you or you are pouring into them, if there's not that reciprocate relationship, then they need to go away. And I'm not talking about those friendships you have at work because, you work beside somebody and you go to lunch or whatever and you chit-chat and we're not talking about necessarily friendships and family. That's a kind of another area as well. But I'm talking about those people that are not healthy in your life. Those people who take from you, including some family.
Mhm.
And that starts to go into, you're still calling them a friend, but they're not your friend.
Yeah.
That gets into the unhealthy area.
Yeah, I agree. I don't necessarily, I remember when Facebook came out and it was just like, follow me, what? So friends, I say more like Facebook connections, but I do have friends and relatives. I love it when somebody has a baby and I watch him grow up on Facebook. That is so much fun for me. And there's some cool things about it, but there's also if we've been damaged, there's also some things that can happen, such as somebody unfriends you, especially in this political climate. They unfriend you because you don't agree with them, and then that may put someone into a deep depression because they unfriended me. Well, what kind of friend were they? Excuse me. If you disagree and they say I unfriend you, that can be pretty deep for people, huh?
Correct. Well, I would say that with the latest political climate, I've even been affected by it myself. I had someone that actually did unfriend me due to a comment that I made, and I try never to get political. But it's because it's been such a heated time that it's really brought out who people really are and where their heart really is. And so for me, it's like, if I have someone that I consider to be a really close friend, maybe misunderstand something I wrote on Facebook or I emailed, and, it's so important that we talk front to face. Then I would want them to call me or talk to me. And that's the difference, I think, with real friends. Real friends would hopefully do that. Ones that are not really your friends or acquaintances, they're going to go behind your back. They're going to complain. They're going to unfriend you.
Yes.
Whatever they're going to do, because that's not a true friend. Recently, I was at a church speaking, and the pastor held up his cell phone, and he said, this smartphone has caused more problems in friendships and relationships than anything else. He says, if you don't have the time to come and talk to me face-to-face, then I don't have the time for you. And that has stuck with me, Robin. That has stuck with me because, that's why I like Skype, because a lot of my friends, I don't live where I'm at, so I can't, just drive up to their house. I will Skype and FaceTime so that I can see their faces and their expressions, and so that's as close as I can get to actually being in front of them. But I think that's important, and I think that's what's happened with a lot of our friendships. We are forgetting about the importance of physically being in their presence. As I say, I want to touch you, I want to hug you, and if we don't get that, it really starts to sabotage the relationship. It makes it really hard to get closer.
I agree. I've had to apologize a couple times on Facebook of something I said, and it was misunderstood. And when they came back, one of them came back in a harsh way, one of them did not. I said, I am so sorry. And at the end, I explained what I meant, and then at the end, I said, please forgive me. I mean, take a step down, please. How important is this? So, okay, I want to go into the unhealthy friendships now. What are some of the ways friendships can become unhealthy, Kris?
Oh, my goodness. Wow. I'm just going to give you a few off the top of my head so you kind of know. And I'm sure there's many, many more. And our listeners probably are going, oh, my gosh, that one's like that and that one's like that. Well, there's obviously people in your life that are, and this includes family members. I see so many single parents or even couples that their kids have moved back in. And their kid's not, 20, he's 30. Or she's 35. And sometimes they move back in because they got kids and there's a divorce. But a lot of times they move back in because they're takers. They're not givers.
Yes.
And so if you have people in your life that they always have a problem, there's always an issue, and they take up your time, your heart, your money, your stuff. They borrow and they never bring it back. Of course, the Bible says, well, then just let them have it. But then I'd get a boundary after that.
Yes,
and just
absolutely.
Like, how many lawnmowers can I buy? How about this? They use guilt and manipulation to get what they want.
Yes.
So they will say things to you. Well, fine, then I guess we're just not really friends. Well, I guess, whatever. And it's a passive aggressiveness where they want you to be what they want you to be and not taking into consideration your life. Years ago, my mom, bless my mom's heart, and I know a lot of our listeners have this situation, but I got my mom a cell phone many, many years ago because I could never find her. And I said, well, I'm going to get her phone so I can find her. And my attitude with my mom was like, when I call you, you're there for me.
Wow.
And I never asked her, was this a good time? And God convicted me of that. And he said, you know what? You need to respect her time, too. So even now with my friends, Robin, when I call them, I'll say, is this a good time? Did I catch you in the middle of something? Do you have a few minutes? Because I don't know what they're going through. And otherwise it comes across as a very selfishness. People who abuse you verbally, physically, right?
Really.
You should figure that out. Tempt you to buy things you don't need or want. What type of friend who knows you're on a diet, you're trying to get healthy, takes you to a restaurant that has nothing but sweets? What type of friend would take you shopping when you're trying to save up and get out of debt and talk you into buying something you don't need?
Yeah.
That's not a friend.
That's right.
And I always say friends that don't grow spiritually, people that are in the same place they were in their faith 10 years ago, and they're still living like a young Christian, and yet you've moved on.
Right.
They encourage you to sin. So those are just a few right there.
Boy, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of them. It's not a true friend. I love that what you said is tempt you to buy stuff you don't want, or like you said, in a restaurant, if they know that you're struggling with something, and those kind of friends who know they have freedom to do something when you don't, and they put it right in front of you, like they can't eat the sweets when you shouldn't be eating the sweets, and you're trying not to. Yeah, right. Totally. And then there's manipulation.
And I'm saying perfect. I'm not saying that, we're not girls, we don't go out and we go, I'm trying to cut back, but you know what, maybe I could afford those shoes. I'm not saying that because every person in your life does that or whatever, they're your horrible friend, and you need to get rid of them. I'm just saying there's a pattern of these individuals that you think are your friends. They always have drama in their life. They've always got problems. A year goes by, 2 years go by, 3 years go by. It's the same problem.
Yep. We're talking about friendship with Kris Swiatocho right after the break.
Host and author Robin Beesman returns after this short break for more conversation on Chained No More. In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi. Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward with tips, tools, and advice, and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi. Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. If you're ready for a big change in your work, your career, your happiness, your life, it's time for the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Marla believes that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Join us as successful life coach Marla Tabaka inspires you and her clients to explore, discover, and live your dreams by developing what she calls the $1 Million Mindset. Marla will inspire you to take action on your dreams and reveal secrets to success that will help you realize your own unique power. Tune into the $1 Million Mindset for heartwarming stories with Marla Tabaka. Learn tips and tricks to building a successful business and unlock the secrets to creating a happier, more balanced life through abundant thinking and attraction power. For more information on the $1 Million Mindset, go to our website, marlatabaka.com. That's MarlaTabaka.com. It's the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to a place you'll find acceptance, understanding, and encouragement, as well as effective tools and resources to help you find healing from the stuff that gets in the way of your making emotional progress. Now with more of today's Chained No More, Robin Beesman.
Hi, listeners. We're talking with Kris Swiatocho, and we're talking about friendships, all the different subjects around that. One of the things is most of us have been hurt by friends and in our life, and many of us have trust issues because of that damage. I see that a ton in classes. How do you take a risk? And here's the practical tools, listeners. How do you take a risk and begin to build a friendship with someone again? Talk to me, Kris.
Oh, I heard years ago a great illustration by a well-known a woman that preaches around the country. And she gave this, and I've never forgotten this illustration. She said that she was woke up in the middle of the night and had to use the restroom. And so she gets up and she goes to the restroom and she stubs her toe. Well, she started screaming in pain, and she grabbed her toe, and she started hopping around, but then she knew she was going to fall, so she sat back down on the bed. Her toe was hurting her, but yet she really needed to use the restroom. She goes, but if I get up and I go to use the restroom again, I'll stub my toe again, and I can't take that risk. It hurts so bad. And she goes, well, but maybe I could crawl on my legs and knees and try to do it. Well, that's probably not good. I'll probably hit my head and hit something else that hurts. And then she's like, but if I don't go, I'm going to explode. I got to go. I got to move forward. I can't stay here. And then it dawned on her, why didn't she turn the light on? Why didn't she put some slippers on? Yeah. Why doesn't she move the thing out of the way? And her illustration was about trust. When we've been hurt, we need to learn from that. You cannot live life sitting still. John 10:10 says you got to live to the fullest. You got to move, and that means you take risks again. But you learn what caused the issue that caused the breakdown of that relationship and the trust. Is it something you did? Something they did? What can you learn from it? What can you put in your environment to protect you the next time? Maybe you don't tell everything the first time you meet them. That may be a good step, right? Yeah. Number 2. You find out more about them. What is their pattern? What is their walk with God? What is their walk in life? Are they somebody that you can't trust? And so my mom's always taught me, don't ever tell everybody everything. And it's probably very true. I think sometimes we have such a desire to have friendships that we're too transparent too soon. Then we put ourselves at risk because we haven't built the foundation of a true friendship. It's based on emotion and not on truth too soon.
And you earn trust. Take your time. You earn trust. I mean, those of us who are sanguine, hello, it's very easy to just tell your whole life in 5 minutes from meeting somebody. And I understand that. Well,
we want those friendships, and we might click with somebody, and we feel like we have that instant connection. This happens in a lot of romantic relationships. This happens in marriages where same-sex friendships can get too close too soon, and you share too much about your marriage with someone that's not in your marriage, because God designed us to want that community. Yes. But to me, like anything, you need to take the time it takes to build it so that then when the storms come, when the misunderstandings, when the hurt, when we haven't seen each other in a while or you don't have as much time for me anymore, you can withstand it. It'll still make it through that because you've done it the right way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about these boundaries, because there's some healthy boundaries that can help us in our friendships. How can boundaries become unhealthy barriers, though?
Oh, well, you can get too crazy, I guess. You get to where you go, I just won't be friends with anybody. You can, sit back on your bed and hold your toe for the rest of your life.
That's right.
I'm going to tell you, Robin, for me, I'm a single adult, and I've been in love in my life at least 2 times that I would call the real thing. And both ended in hurt, both ended in severe pain, but both ended in the way that I believe God wanted me to end it. And I would rather feel that love that came with the pain than not to feel love at all. But I learned from it. And you have healthy, and so the mistakes that I made in those relationships where I didn't have healthy boundaries that caused me to trust someone too soon, to get too close to someone too soon. And so to me is having a type of boundary where you're not talking every day the first time you meet somebody. You're not physically going to see them every day, so that's a healthier boundary to say, hey, yeah, let's get together next week. And then you follow through. Don't just say, hey, let's do it. Let's actually do it, because that builds trust. And then you allot a certain amount of time that we're going to hang out because, one, you have other things going on in your life. But the main thing is do what you say you're going to do. I think is going to help build that trust, but it's also going to help you with that boundary. For me, with some of the people that have not worked out so well, but you still feel like they're supposed to be in your life, that, God hasn't taken them out, and for some reason they're still there, and you wish God would take them out, and they drive you nuts, and you're like, Lord, why is this person in my life? You're like, well, it's maybe to make him grow you. But I pray for my friends. I think that's really important. But I also communicate with them, Robin, that this behavior is not acceptable and how it hurts you. I think you have to talk with people. And you have to tell them exactly what you can do. Where, to me, a healthy boundary is to say, this is as much as I'm able to give right now. But it's not telling them, it's not saying that I don't love you and I don't care about you. But right now, this is where I'm at in my life. And is that enough for our relationship right now?
Yeah. Well, I know the barriers. There's a guy in my class right now that he's put so many barriers up that he won't let anybody in there. And he's been holding it so tight. And he thought they were healthy boundaries, but it just made it safer for him. But then nobody can get through there. And I'm watching him now, and I'm watching him unravel and see that his anger and his hurt and his pain have put up these barriers. And so I'm excited for what's going to happen, because now I think that he can have even more of a friendship with his wife, Kris. I mean, seriously, he didn't let anybody in. It was so much of a barrier.
Well, so the reality is, Robin, who wants to be hurt again? Who wants to be stomped on again?
That's right.
Who wants to, I gave them money, I gave them time, I let them stay in my home, I gave them one of my couches, and this is what they do. Well, you know what? People, by nature, we're selfish, we're self-focused, and we're going to fail, and we're going to make mistakes. But you know what? God owns it all. So to me, it's like I put people in my life that he wants. I'm not saying I put them, he puts them. I'm friends with who he wants me to be friends with for whatever reason. And even the ones that hurt me, did I do something that caused part of that? And if I did, I own up to it. It's mine. I will take it, and I will deal with it. But if I didn't, I release that, Robin. I do not let their junk mess with me.
That's right.
And I pray for them, and I'll say, you know what, they're not where they need to be, just like I'm not always where I need to be. And I'm going to pray that they're going to get some healing and some help and some counsel, because eventually, if you keep doing the same behavior, at some point in time, you're going to have to wake up and go, wait a minute, maybe I'm the problem.
Yeah.
And it's not everybody else. And
the only one that's perfect is God. And we can't expect that from others and ourselves. So that gives you the grace for them.
Well, baby steps are important too. And I would say to those people who are afraid to come back, just pick one person to just start. Don't try to create 20. Just start with one person who you can say, can we get a cup of coffee? And just start with real simplicity and just allow God to take it to that next level. Not everybody can be like, extroverted, crazy out there, lots and lots of fun. But guess what? Even extroverts get hurt.
That's right. All right. So for listeners of faith, what are some of the ways our friendships can pull us from God? That's an interesting question.
Oh my goodness, yes. So what are some? Well, let me go back to that one again as well. What are some ways our friendships can pull us from God? Oh my goodness. Well, if you are, we use this term. It's a very Christianese term for those out there who are not listeners of faith, called equally yoked. And what it just means is that when you've got two oxen and they are two, bulls or whatever, and they're pulling stuff in the fields and the farms, they're yoked together, so they go together, so they're not going apart. Well, in the same way as a Christian, we are supposed to be paired up with people going in the same direction. So if you're around friends that are not believing the way you are, that's fine as long as you're in their life to help them. But if they start to pull you away, before you know it, you're finding yourself cussing again because maybe you're going to movies that you would not have gone to, or you find yourself saying some things you wouldn't say, or maybe you're getting into a relationship with a guy that or a girl that doesn't believe the way you believe, and for, you know what, you've fallen back into a physical relationship into that person. Anything in your life that is not of God, you begin to be pulled away. So those types of friends, we need to make sure they are friends that are pushing us towards God and not pulling us away. And we will know that by our behavior, our attitude, if we're going to church, if we're in a Bible study. All those types of things are a way to measure and to see, you know, if they're pulling us or pushing us to God.
Yeah, that takes self-inflection, you know?
Yes.
You need to listen and see for yourself. I always talk about nurture yourself. If you find that there's a need, if there's a hurt, or there's something that needs to change, or something that's bothering you, you need to be able to nurture yourself, and by doing that is praying for just good discernment. Ultimately, our perfect relationship, friendship, or model is God, but what must we do first in that relationship that can help us in all of our other human relationships, Kris?
Well, you know, God in Exodus 34:14, it says, you know, we're to worship no other gods but only the Lord, for he is a God who's passionate about his relationship with you. And just to think of that concept that God is just, you know, he made everything. Why would he want anything to do with me? That's just hard to believe. It's hard to have that concept. Well, that's why he brought Jesus. You know, Jesus is our bridge to God. And so Jesus gives us models in the Bible of what friendship looks like and how we're to care for each other. You know, he had his 3 buds, you know, and his favorite, John, at the end of his life was the one he asked his mother to take care of his mother and vice versa. Wow. What a powerful model. And he gives us the example of what friendship is, that we should want to die for our friends, that we should want to support them and encourage them and listen to them. But there's even discipline. I mean, even Jesus disciplined some of his disciples when they weren't doing things right, and we should be able to do that with our friends, to be able to say, hey, that's not right, or let's set up an accountability situation where we can help each other in the areas that we're struggling with. But he also, you know, you can imagine Jesus laughed with them and cried with them, and he hugged them. He loved Lazarus, and when Lazarus died, he cried. And he shows us a side of him that I think a lot of us, you know, we need to be able to cry with our friends. And so because of our time that we spend with Jesus and our relationship with him, and that comes from believing in him and knowing that he died for us, and we follow him because we are a sinner and we need forgiveness. As we get to know him, and how do you get to know somebody? You have to spend time with them. You know, you can't just like see them from a distance and go, oh, I know that person. No, you got to spend time. You pray. You listen. We'll talk more in a minute, won't we?
We will. We're talking about a different kind of friendship here, and that's with God.
Robin Beesman returns after this short break for more conversation on Chained No More.
Military Network Radio, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, bringing you dynamic interviews each week and fresh information of value to improve your outlook, actions, and encourage each member of your family. From service members, wounded warriors, veterans, military spouses, caregivers, parents, and children, everyone serves, and together we can make a difference. You can find our show at our website, www.militarynetworkradio.com, and at toginetradio.com/Military Network Radio. Everyone serves, and together we make a difference.
Is there more living for you to do? Yes. Start living inspired. Be here for Living Inspired with Tricia Goyer, Thursday afternoons at 4, 3 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Tricia will dig deep into topics that matter most to women, inspiring women to make a change in their own lives and to make a difference in the world, and maybe even deep within their own hearts. Tricia is a wife, mom, speaker, family expert, and author of 24 books. For more information on Tricia and Living Inspired, go to her website, TriciaGoyer.com. That's TriciaGoyer.com. Tricia's vision is to be the voice of hope and possibility for women of all ages. Her intention is to serve ordinary women by encouraging extraordinary things with God's help. Tricia expresses real life, real hope for real women. Is there more living for you to do? Yes. Start living inspired. Living Inspired with Tricia Goyer. Thursday afternoons at 4, 3 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to a place you'll find acceptance, understanding, and encouragement, as well as effective tools and resources to help you find healing from the stuff that gets in the way of your making emotional progress. Now with more of today's Chained No More, Robin Beesman.
Well, here we are, listeners, to the last segment, Unbelievable. But we're going to be talking a little bit about the friendship with God. I know for me, personally, my relationship with God is the utmost. And I answer to him first before I answer to anybody else, even before my husband. And I want my relationship with him to be straight up and pure. And when I mess up, I know he loves me, but I need to confess to him as well and to keep a close relationship. And so I know that's important to me, and I know, Kris, for you as well. And to help people understand that friendship with our loving God should be utmost. What's the result of our friendship with God in relation to other human beings?
Wow. Well, because, our purpose in life as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, is a relationship with God that glorifies him, because even the enemy has a relationship. So it needs to be one in which it glorifies God and brings favor to him. Out of that relationship is a relationship with others. So then it doesn't matter where you work. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter how much money you have. None of those things matter, because everything is about a relationship. So then all of a sudden you're at that job that you really hate, and then you go, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm here because I'm the only Christian here, and I need to be here. Oh my God, that neighbor drives me crazy, their music. Maybe God wants you to go talk to that neighbor and get to know them, and that's why he's put you beside them. So everything gets looked at differently, Robin. Your perspective changes to where you stop looking at everything in your life as being this, how much can I accumulate, how much can I buy, how much can I feel good and feel happy and feel comfortable. Instead, it looks at what are the relationships that God wants me to have as a direct result of the relationship I have with him. So it changes everything. And I figured this out when I was in my mid-30s. I had done, which a lot of us know about the purpose-driven life, and I had actually read it, and I went, oh, my goodness, I've been going about my relationships wrong. All of my friendships were for me. Even dating relationships were for me. And then it changed. And now it's like, Lord, thy will be done. Thy will be done. Who do you want in my life? And guess what, Robin? If you're going to bring some new ones in, guess what's got to happen? Some old ones got to go. You got to let go. And sometimes they get taken away, and there's no reason for it. You didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. God is simply saying, hey, life is short. You've only got so many hours in a day, but there's so many people that need to know about Jesus. And so, Kris, I'm going to take some of these relationships away so I can bring some new ones in. And so now, Robin, when someone leaves me, I'm not standing there with a crowbar trying to figure out what I did wrong. I'm simply go, it was great that they were in my life for that time. I'm thankful for that season, and God's moving me to a new season.
It's so wise. My daughter, when she got into her 20s, her best friend in high school, they were just inseparable. They were like sisters and stuff. And then as Tammy got married, and her friend did not, and it got to the place where Tammy just decided that she just can't be friends. She did that with about 3 of them, I think, because she was growing and she was healthy. They were very unhealthy, and they were not growing at all. So they were stuck there, and it really hurt her for a while. She couldn't understand how you can call somebody your best friend and then all of a sudden be broken. You think they're going to be best friends forever, and it really took her a while to work through that. It really did, and so then we said, well, there's a season sometimes for friendships.
Yes.
Yep.
And we also don't know, we all change. You meet married couples and they say, why did you divorce? Well, irreconcilable differences, which is a code for they changed. Well, I hope we all change. The problem is that even in our friendships, they're going to be affected by things that go on with them, and whether it's medically, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, all of these things affect your relationships. So you may have grown in a direction, but they're not growing in the same direction. So as much as they love you and care about you, they simply can't go where you're going. And you have to release that.
That really puts in an interesting perspective, because you said irreconcilable differences, and a code word for I've changed. I've changed. Yeah. So where do the vows go from that? I mean, I know I'm throwing you a curveball here. Well, when you're making a vow for better, the vows in marriage, for better, worse, rich, or poor.
Isn't that a good, exactly. You know what, I've got someone right now that decided to break up with someone while they're dating who had a physical health issue. And I said, what does the vow mean? It's sickness and in health. So if they've changed, well, they didn't change overnight. It was a process. So in the process that you see them changing, where were you along in that journey with them that
That's
they were
right.
changing? So so a lot of times there was no communication for a while, and then the marriage ends. But I'm not the expert on marriage, so probably got to get somebody else for that program.
I know, my bad. I'm sorry. That's something for me to ask another guest.
But you know what? That'll lead into something I would like to share about resources when you get to that question.
Okay. What I want you to do, Kris, is spend some time here telling our listeners about all that you do, about your resources, how they can get to them, and how they can connect with you.
Well, I have a couple websites. One is called FromHisHands.com, and it's my overall speaking site, in which people who are wanting women's ministry, leadership for their church, I do first impression ministry, singles, all of that is on that site. The other one is called the Singles Network, and that's THE, the Singles Network, and it's literally the Wikipedia for singles ministry and how to start, grow, develop. It is the largest website that I know of in the world for that content of that type of material. Over half our country is single, not married, and then the number continues to increase. It's not going down because the value of marriage has gone down, and so ever more churches need to be reaching single adults. And then a new project I'm working on, which kind of talks about where we were talking, is called PrayForAMate.com. Very excited about this. Launched it in November. We have over 150 groups have started around the world. It's a once-a-month prayer group where people pray for an hour and a half, specifically about why they're not married, their fears or concerns. Because what I was seeing in the church, Robin, is I was seeing churches were really not preparing singles to be married, and it is the second biggest decision you make after your salvation is who am I going to marry? And but they're not preparing them. Two married people come from two single people, and so I would meet single adults, and they were just like, "Well, I want to be married. I've been praying," but they really weren't dealing with the reasons that maybe why they weren't married. So what PrayForAMate.com does is that you get into a place of praying for the areas that you're concerned about, whether it's fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of change. All those different things that you're concerned about, you get to pray through and allow the Holy Spirit to tell you the real issues. So one of the issues could be that you're not ready. One of it could be you need some counseling. You need to go through divorce care. Or it could be, I'm ready. Now, Lord, where do you want me to be? Or the last one is, I'm good. I'm not called to be married. But at least you'll know. So I'm really, really excited, Robin, because it allows me to help the marriages that God designed most of us to have.
Yeah, that's just great. Hey, I wanted to ask you, you said From His Hand. Is that plural or single?
FromHisHands.com.
So, plural, hands.
Both hands. Yeah, plural, yep. Yep, if you get to FromHisHands.com, you'll get to everything else, and it's an easier website to remember, but I'm just super excited to see what God is doing. I'm busier than I've been in years, and I'm very thankful for doors that have opened in churches, and I'm going to be coming out your way in April, and going to get to finally meet you and in person.
I know.
And so just excited to see the doors. And God has opened up opportunities. I have a ministry in England. We have one in Uganda. God's called me to Australia and to Singapore. So who knows where I'll be next. And, that's one advantage of being a single adult is there is a freedom to go wherever God wants you to go without having to really check with a lot of people like a husband. And so for those days that are tough and you're, getting a bucket of chocolate out or ice cream and really struggling with being single, wow, what I get to do as a single is amazing. Absolutely
I always said that if I don't have naturally born grandchildren. Our son just got married again, and so I have a 9 and 11-year-old. I would be a different woman today if I had grandbabies, let me say. I'd be one of those sick grandmothers, and I would never be able to do what I'm doing. So I'm going to ask you for 1 minute, if you will take a minute to encourage our listeners and give them hope about how they can connect with others and enjoy friendships again.
Yep. Well, just from my own perspective and my own life of friendships, I cannot live without them. The enemy's goal is to get you by yourself. He wants you to make it about you. He wants you to have pity parties. He wants you to be sad, and that's not what Christ came for. In order to take that chance for someone to care about you, you do have to step out in faith, even those little baby steps. because the value of a real friendship, somebody who'll be there for you, is so immense. I could not function without my friends. I need them to tell me when I'm being crazy, when I'm being stupid, when I'm making mistakes. I need them to pray for me. I need them to help me financially. There's times in this season of working in ministry that I needed help financially, and there's times that I've been able to help them financially. We've been there for each other, for our parents, because we're all at the age where our parents are getting sick, and a lot of them are getting older, and we've had to support each other. I could not do that without friends. So be in prayer and say, God, bring someone in my life that I can truly be a friend with. Maybe right now it's just somebody that can be there for you, but then maybe you'll find out that you can actually be there for them. Just start with one. Don't worry about many. Just start with one. And I promise you, it'll happen.
Thank you so much, Kris. You're such a big blessing, really. Thanks for your encouragement, your practical tools, and for giving hope to our thousands of listeners around this globe. Please, listeners, get to her websites, thesinglesnetwork.com,
thesinglesnetwork.org, fromhishands.com, sorry.
Shoo. I'm no glad. Thank you for doing that. Okay, next week, listeners, we begin a month of guests who will tell their incredible stories. Some of them are pretty edgy. They may make us feel a little uncomfortable at times, but we will learn a lot. And what we will see is how the Lord God can lift us up out of the depths of despair, heal us, and use us to help those who come up behind us. We begin the month with a man next week named Brian Cole, and the title of his show will be Brian's Story from Addiction to Preacher. His story is riveting, to say the least. He was in the occult, he was in drugs, he was addicted to porn. There's just so much to it, but how God has raised this man up will blow your mind. I am so excited to have him. I'm going to do a quick prayer right here, and we'll end the show. Lord God, thank you so much for Kris. You are using her in such big ways, Lord. With her, she has a humble heart, God. She wants to serve with all she has. I pray that you will expand her ministry. I pray that people will get to her websites, Lord God, and get some help for the people in their community, in their church, and in their lives. Thank you for this friendship, and thank you for having us be able to do this today. In the name of Jesus, amen. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. We hope you will be able to use the information from Kris now to take steps toward enjoying healthy relationships so your life can be richer and more fun. Also, if there's things that have caused you to hold back and trust issues or whether, get some help for that, because that will really be a thing of freeing you up. So I thank you, Kris, again one more time, girl, and I will see everybody next week on Chain No More.
For tuning in to Chained No More, a show of answers and encouragement for what you face today. You can learn more about Robin B. Ministries, read her blog, and purchase encouraging resources at www.robinministries.com. There, you will be able to purchase the small group curriculum and self-discovery versions of Chained No More, as well as Robin's latest CD, Through the Rain, Crisis to Hope. Books are also available on Amazon.com.